I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have an agenda before us. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
That was Lionel. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Graham. Oh, that's Graham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. First item of discussion, continued discussion of potential changes to the Public Works program. Mr. Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Elmore. Since the last meeting of the BOMC, the city has published communications outlining the proposed recommendation to the board for the future of the Public Works program. Just for your sake and everybody in the audience, that included communication across all of our mediums, which would be our website, our e-news system, and social media. We also did a hard copy printed version of the cover letter I pinned to that information, inclusive of a QR code that residents could then click and be linked to the additional information that is found on our website, which includes a FAQ or question and answer section that we believed would satisfy the majority of questions about the material that was presented. We have subsequently continued that communication through our news flash system that further elaborated upon feedback that we've received, and once again encouraged folks to visit the website so that they could have some of their questions answered if they had not already done so. As we discussed at our last meeting, I have invited the contractor who we have recommended to you, Aero Waste. George DeVries is here representing Aero, and he has prepared a short presentation to introduce his company to you guys so that you can understand a little bit more about Aero, what they're about, what the company strives to do, and what they propose to do for the city of Avondale Estates. I think we touched on this a little bit last time, but I want to reinforce it here. If the BOMC were to enter into a contract for sanitation services, there would be a 60-day period, transition period, where all of the logistics for service provision would be ironed out, meaning, how we're going to deliver carts, whose route is on what day, how we are going to set up and provide information about customer service, what days trash pickup will occur, how to handle bulk pickup, all of that will be done during that 60-day period. So those answers are not available yet. So any questions related to specific logistics can't be answered. What we can talk about at the board level right now is further detailing any questions you might have about the proposal itself, any questions you might have of George and Aero regarding their company, and any provisions that you might like to see in the bounds of a contract, so that we ensure the city has accountability over any of items that y'all would like to include. When I say that, I mean something, just to give a kind of a generic example, the placement of cans back into the yard of the resident after they've been emptied. For example, if you want to ensure that that placement is done back onto the property, not strewn about the street, we can add those provisions to a contract and make sure that that accountability is met. So the plan for us moving forward as a staff is for tonight to be an opportunity for you to get to know George and Arrow a little bit better, and an opportunity to further discuss any questions you might have of staff about the proposal or next steps or what you might like to see included in a contract. From that feedback, if you decide to move forward to pursue contract language, we would take the time between this meeting and next to develop that contract language to have that ready for you by the next meeting. So that's kind of our approach here. If that's amenable to you guys, that's the best way that we think we can move forward to provide you guys with enough time and information for you to make a good decision. So without further ado, I would like to invite George up to the podium to tell you a little bit about Arrow Waste.
Thank you. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. Been looking forward to this all day, actually all week, since the last time Patrick and I got together. But first of all, my name is George DeVries. I'm the vice president with Arrow Waste, and we are a 30-year-old collection company. Most people that drive around 285 has probably seen dozens of our trucks on any given day. Have roughly 70 trucks roaming the metro area on any given day. So we've started out as with one truck in 1994 with just a mission to be able to pick up the founder's own trash from his renovation company. Couldn't find anyone that could do it, so did it himself. So really, that's kind of the best founding story of all the good companies, I think. So really, we were founded on a basis of quality service, really from the very beginning. We're independent, only in the Atlanta market, and have moved on starting as a roll-off company, which we're the most well-known for, to now have roughly 5 commercial routes within the city, about 12,000 residential customers, and just growing by leaps and bounds just by doing the exact same things that we were founded on. So I want to introduce a few of the key people that would be responsible for working with Avondale Estates, myself being the first one up there. I started myself on a truck in 1994. So really started from the very beginning, throwing trash, driving the truck, dispatching, operations, sales, and now here I am, the lowly peon in charge. But so I've had a lot of experience over the years with municipal contracts, from taking over, changing, selling and starting new municipal customers, and really couple of key things that make it work the best. It's talking with you, and when things don't go right, make sure they don't go wrong again. Really a couple of very foundational things, because nobody can be perfect, but how you respond can be. So I'd be the key project manager. In fact, after initially talking with Patrick about this, I go into it to my CEO, Justin, who's the other gentleman on the screen there, said, Justin, if we're doing this, I am project managing it because I cannot afford for anything to go wrong. I want it to go perfect, and you'll see farther along in the screen why it really is part of our mission and what we're trying to do for our company. Now, Justin, who I report to directly, has been running at a high level waste management companies, including Waste Management, for the last 10 years in some very large markets, up to more than 140,000, I believe, residential customers in one. So he has the huge experience. I've got between St. Louis itself and smaller communities that have more niche needs like Avondale Estates. Personally, my favorite is communities like yours, because I actually get to know you instead of 27 commissioners. Yeah, the next one, please. Wanted to show you an example. Our newly approved carts those which we would propose delivering to each home. A 96-gallon trash cart, that'd be the one with the dark lid, hot stamped, our phone numbers on it, all the communication that we would want to share with residents at the beginning would not only be available on a website, but also in the cart itself as it's delivered. And then you see see them hot stamped. You see an example of one of the trucks that would be serving the city. We propose doing this with smaller version rear load trucks. And it just makes more sense for the ins and outs and the tight areas of the community. This is a brand new truck, which we had delivered maybe 3-4 weeks ago. So we've really been modernizing our fleet. So you won't have to worry about old trucks running up and down the street and leaking all over the place. Now, our mission, and this kind of gets to why not only do you need a waste service, I need you probably more than you need me. So our mission is to become the premier and the largest waste removal company in the metro area. To be able to do that, we have to be great at everything we do. So the most satisfied customers, the best customer experience. We're doing all that with in-house teams, not a call center in Houston or Phoenix or like a lot of the large regional or national companies do. To be the best in response. Really to be the choice provider and the best value to anyone in the municipal market. And I really need, being that this would be our first as a company municipal contract, not ours as far as the leadership. We've done this a lot, but first in the market, which I cannot grow and become really who we want to be as a company without making sure you are the happiest people on the face of the earth. And when it comes to trash, that is not an easy thing to do. So I think we actually had a couple of really the way to do it. We already talked about best experience over communicate. The gentleman sitting there in the back have already started conversations with and really want to be the right-hand man of the public works and the sanitation folks. We have to provide the best quality service because without you, we cannot achieve long-term plans. I mean, period. That just stops as so much of the metropolitan area moved to municipal contracts. Most notably on the east side, Gwinnett County years ago, when they standardized the program. And it took a while to get it right for them, but they did. And as I said before, we have to, I need you to be pleased. So you can be my advocate. You can tell the next city down the street, be it Gwinnett County, be it McDonough, Union City, all over the metro area, that, hey, they said what they were going to do. They did it. They followed through. So, yes, that's my spiel.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
What other cities of our size are you guys servicing in the metro area?
You would be our first municipal contract.
Okay.
We do service HOAs, which go anywhere from 15 to a couple of hundred homes. Everything is really subscription, which is the hardest kind of residential services.
Mm-hmm.
So through Cobb, mainly through Cobb and in Fulton and a lot of the HOAs within the city of Atlanta and the incorporated parts of DeKalb.
Okay. And so up until now, you primarily been commercial. Yeah, because that's where I've always seen your trucks is on job sites and, picking up.
That's how we started.
Commercial waste, yeah.
And we really are known for being the best. I would recommend you look at our Google reviews. Nobody comes even close. I mean, we're at a 4.5, if I remember right. And I think my nearest competitor is at 2.2.
I mean, like I said, I've seen your trucks on a lot of sites. So, yeah.
Well, you don't have any concerns about, obviously you've got a lot of customers, so you're already at a certain level, but you don't have any concerns about taking on a group this large.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm concerned enough that you're going to have some very, very eagle eyes on it at all times, but I'm not concerned that we cannot handle and properly perform.
I just have a quick question, and if this is more on the logistics side that we can answer, that's fine. But thank you for the presentation, first of all, and also, thank you for, committing to taking on the employees of our city that we can't necessarily retain after we switch to a new contract. My question is, pretty basic. You'd offer health insurance and retirement benefits on?
Yes, we have the whole suite.
Okay.
Medical, 401 match.
And then my second one is probably just a logistical question, but I've seen it a couple of times. We'd be going from 2 pickups a week to 1 pickup a week, and some people are fine with it. Some people are nervous about it, but with a 96-gallon trash can, I can't imagine that this would be a huge problem. But if it doesn't all fit in the can, would it still be picked up?
Oh, yeah, that's one of the reasons why we felt a transition from what you do now to a private hauler.
Okay.
Rear loaders are the way to go because you actually have the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Yeah. That's all my question.
Yeah, so we're not talking about the automated trucks with the crane thing
No,
that,
not
okay,
this.
so.
We do those, but that's not what we proposed for this.
Okay, tell me how you've handled in other communities, just traffic flow, like the trucks, how do you plan out where they're going to or when? I don't know much.
That's a great question, a little bit logistical, but I'll give you an overview. Thanks to technology, it is so much better than it used to be. Used to be, we'd have to drive down the street and design a right-hand route because you want that driver turning right as much as possible. Now we have technology that actually does it. So we can take the spreadsheet from Patrick, plug it in, and very easily divide up quadrants. And we're going to be trash and recycling here this day, and this day. And it gives them which direction when to follow.
Okay, yeah, thank you. A second question I have is coincidentally, my trash wasn't picked up today. The escalation was pretty easy. I called the city manager and, I don't know what happened, right? What would an escalation path look like in this case with Arrow?
The first call, obviously, I know the city's team would be here, but how we envision it is our 14 locally based CSRs are trained to handle all calls. There is no voicemail. There is no hold messages. You dial that phone number and it's going to be on the can. It's going to be everywhere. Or you can send an email to the website that's going to be on the container as well. And it gets handled. For all of our services, we have a guarantee of a 24-hour turnaround. So residential will be no different.
Okay.
Now, if we happen to still be in town, it's possible to get it the same day, but I want to set the expectation fairly.
And one final question, and it's along these lines again. Do you do any type of customer satisfaction survey?
We haven't, short of the broad ones like Google reviews, for example. It's not something that we really do, but it's people that have used our service that voluntarily go into it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Any additional question, Mike?
Mike.
Sorry.
No,
Mike?
I think, I'm here. I just think if you could elaborate a little bit further. I think most of the community's concerns regard just the current city public works employees and what the plan is for Arrow to onboard those. If you could maybe elaborate a little bit more in detail for the public here so they can kind of, put some of their concerns to rest, perhaps.
So I'll answer that, actually. So just for the general public's knowledge, our RFP included a provision whereby we requested that any proposer give a guaranteed opportunity to any positions that we are unable to retain to be hired by the company to work on our account. And Arrow did meet that provision request. So that will be something that we will identify during the transition period if we do sign a contract. But it kind of the process will go like this. Marcel and I will determine the list of positions and the folks who occupy those positions that would be retained. And then those who are not will then be able to enter into the onboarding process with Arrow. Of course, that is subject to a drug screening. We've already talked to the team about what that's going to look like. They are very much aware of that process. We'll just go from there. We also included in our provision a minimum compensation rate for that transition. The compensation rate that we requested is actually slightly higher than the entry-level compensation package that we are able to provide now. So none of the employees that would transition would lose buying power if they transition over to Arrow. Now, of course, and as we talk to our own staff, we don't have the ability to compel them or to compel anyone to go work for the contractor. That would be the employee's decision. So they absolutely are aware of that as well, that, anyone who is not retained absolutely has the opportunity to go work for whomever they want.
We are hoping they do.
Oh,
Yes.
or is Mike done with his questions?
Oh, no, yes, thanks for the elaboration. I appreciate it.
Just a follow-up on a more operational type of question. Do you define like hours that you'll be picking up trash, or you gotta forgive me, I'm not familiar with the industry and I'm not sure how service levels work.
Oh, it's all right. I love talking trash. A standard anywhere for residential services, being multifamily or residential, you cannot start before 7 a.m. So that's when we would start, and where we would set the expectation where have your containers at the curbside by 7. And we would plan to be out of town by 4 p.m.
Okay.
If preferably before, and down to the landfill and back home.
And that's the same schedule we follow now, providing our own service.
Thank you.
Well,
I just have a couple more questions for
Sure.
Patrick, but not for, I don't know. if
Are y'all
Good.
okay with George? Because I know he had somewhere else to
Thank you
be.
so much.
George and Mayor Pro Tem.
So thanks for the emphasis on communication and quality service.
That's all we
Really
have.
important.
Just
Awesome.
trucks and containers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that, as an organization, I think all of us we've constantly been striving to provide quality services that are efficient and cost effective. I think that Patrick has done a good job of that over some other areas in the city. And just to remind residents that looking at solid waste pickup and recycling is just part of the overall plan moving forward for public works. I know Patrick and Marcel, and I believe Adrian have spent lots and lots of time trying to figure out what's, most efficient for us and how we can get everything done. So what I'm understanding is that you guys are recommending that we go to outsource sanitation and recycling. And the reason why is because it's more economical and because it will also benefit other aspects of our public works program in the long run. So the contract is going to be super important. You guys have all mentioned some of the things I wanted to mention to Patrick about what I would like to see in the contract. So forgive me if I say the same thing over again. I think it's really important to ensure that the service that we get is what our residents expect. So some of the things that I wrote down that I would like to see addressed are, yes, where are the cans going to be placed? I'm fine with the verge. But what we don't want to see is them on site, laying across sidewalks, in streets, things like that. I think George addressed, that the fact that cars are parked won't prohibit any garbage being picked up because it can still be loaded manually. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I just want to make sure that gets discussed. Garbage amounts that don't fit in bins, already mentioned. Complaint missed pickup options and communication pathway. And how, what the oversight by our city director will be to ensure and communication to ensure that the contract is complied with. So that's what's important to me, but just wanted to mention those things for the record.
Yeah, thank you.
I would add holiday schedule to like what happens.
Good point.
Your
Yeah.
day falls on a holiday, especially once a week.
Patrick, I was, one thing that came out to me is a resident wrote in an email, I think you were copied on it, about a couple of questions they had, and I thought that might be something that we could maybe post on the web, or maybe you can answer for them here. It was specifically about being posted on the web, where I don't know if you have any collateral about how the choice was made, what the vetting process was to go through I think I saw a slide about that once, but
So, yeah, we touched on it a little bit last time.
yeah,
So there were metrics that we considered,
right,
and then cost.
right,
Those being, the types of services that were proposed.
mhm,
Some haulers did not propose to do commercial recycling, for example.
right,
Some haulers did not, or were not able to meet the request to be able to hire on the staff that we could no longer retain. So we evaluated things like that in order to bring a recommendation to you.
Right.
Now, it did happen that the recommended vendor met all of our requests and were the lowest cost option. So for us, we believed that they demonstrated a want and desire to meet our needs.
sure.
And that was what was most important.
No doubt. I think what this particular resident was asking was just to understand better the process by which that happened. And I think you provided this in your cost comparison last week as well, which was the comparison between keeping sanitation services in-house and reducing the pickup to once a week while keeping it in-house. I think you did do that cost analysis.
So for us, the cost to provide the service doesn't change whether it's once a week, twice a week, backdoor, curbside.
Right,
Our cost is borne by the fact that we have to mobilize and do it ourselves, meaning that whether it's once a week or twice a week, we still have to have the same amount of people on the crew.
mhm,
We still have to have the equipment and vehicles in order to provide the service.
yeah,
Now, for example, if we were to keep that service in-house and move to once a week, it frees up time for us to be able to do other things, which would keep us from having to hire additional personnel that we would need to do if we kept twice a week in order to get to all the other stuff. So I say that, here's the point I'm trying to make,
okay,
is that there would be no cost savings to anyone if we were to keep it in-house.
mhm,
The millage rate would need to stay the same, and the sanitation fee actually would need to be increased for vehicle replacement. If we contract out, we're able to keep the millage rate the same because we can fit everybody into the existing budget
right.
and lower the sanitation fee.
Right, no, I mean, you did a very good job of presenting that at the last meeting. So the intention wasn't to make you reiterate what you said in the last meeting. More the intention is maybe we could put some documentation out there to explain that to everyone.
It's part of the FAQ.
Oh, it is part of the, okay, in that case, Okay,
Mhm.
my bad. I didn't read it.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, yes. Well, Mike, did you have another question or comment?
No, I think everything's been laid out pretty well. I would just like to add, I think listening to some of the residents' concerns, they seem to believe that, you know, the reduction in cost may not be worth, I guess, the change in services. But I think, you know, what Patrick's laid out is the fact that, you know, it's not only a savings and reduction from the current rate, but also it will be going up in the future in addition to that. So I think that's important to, I guess, maybe reiterate to the residents that the savings is actually going to be more than the $220 annually. It's just savings from the current rate, but those costs are, from what I understand, would have to necessarily go up as well in the future rather than having a reduction now. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And just to reiterate again, which was the point I was trying to make, it also allows us to start to address some other things more completely and fully than we have been in the past. So it's not just about money, I guess is what I would say.
I think point everybody to Marcel's quote that he provided in our news flash yesterday about, you know, for us from a public works planning perspective, the ability to tackle some of the items that we've long wanted to tackle that we've been unable to address is exciting for us as city wonks.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So the next step would be, you said to look at a draft of a contract next meeting
Correct.
at the work session.
Sure. We can do it however you want.
That's the intent.
We can do that. We if y'all intend to enter into contract, you know, in order to begin service by May 1, we would need to do that at the first meeting in March by the latest.
You're saying take the vote.
Yes, so we can introduce it in work session
Yeah.
at the next meeting and then bring it back for consideration at the meeting after that.
Does it sound amenable?
Yeah.
I'd like to, personally, I'd like to have one more round of deliberation. I'd like to hear more from the public on this.
Well, I can't guarantee that Arrow would do that. I can certainly ask. But, you know, as any contract proposal, the rates are only good through a certain date.
So what we're talking about now is not signing a contract for a month.
Correct. Yeah, it'd be a month from today would be,
Discussing at the next work session.
Yeah, it would be 2 meetings.
yeah, 2 meetings. Yeah, a month from today.
Yeah.
I think I guess this is a leap year. So the 13th of March is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that what you?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is that we have one more work session.
Yeah.
And then we'll go, yeah.
Correct. That's what we're proposing, and it has already agreed to that timeline. So there would be no effect on their proposed rates if we keep to that timeline. Now, if we extend beyond that, we could certainly ask them to continue honoring the proposed rates, but I can't guarantee that.
Yeah, but he said they need us as much as we need them, so
I think
we have some leverage there.
yes.
Okay. And we'll take public comment on this item and other items at the end of the meeting. So
Say one last thing.
absolutely.
I just wanted to thank Marcel Jackson, our Public Works Director, for all his expertise and help in getting us here. I know you've had experience with this in your past life and really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. Good. All right. So we're going to talk about the contract at the next work session, possibly vote on it at the following regular meeting, and we'll have comment at the end of the meeting. So, okay. All good?
Yes.
All right, item number 4, purchase of a F-150 Lightning for police department.
Yes.
Oh, you,
Okay. So, we've discussed before, the fact that the city is transitioning to a vehicle replacement program. Meaning that we're trying to, get vehicles that are beyond their useful life and have no asset value on our books, off of our books and replace those with vehicles that we can get a useful life out of. We have 4 non-patrol positions in the police department, or what we refer to as administrative positions. Those are the position of chief, deputy chief, and then our 2 CID officers. CID is our criminal investigations division. And we have 4 vehicles for those positions. 3 of those vehicles are the Mach-E electric vehicles that we purchased a little over a year ago, or I guess it's close to a year and a half now, right? Yeah. But the 4th is the oldest vehicle in our fleet. It is a unmarked Ford Taurus that is falling apart. And it's quite frankly costly to maintain. We, in the capital program, we had budgeted funds for the replacement of that vehicle. And we wanted to do that with another electric vehicle so that we could continue our quest to become a green community through the GMA program that we've committed to. And you would think ideally that we'll just go get a 4th Mach-E, right? Well, the F-150, so this is, bear with me here. The F-150 Lightnings took a little longer on the production line than were anticipated. And so several agencies who had pre-ordered F-150 Lightnings, but could not wait for the F-150 Lightnings to be produced on the line, canceled their orders. However, the cars were already in production. So those overproduced cars have now hit some Ford lots. And because of the excess supply than demand, we decided that we would quote those vehicles to see if the cost was reasonably similar to that of a Mach-E. Because the F-150 provides us with some additional capabilities that a Mach-E doesn't, like the ability for the chief to go on scene, especially scenes that are more difficult to
Access.
Yes, to access. And we were actually able to, because of the excess supply in the market, we were able to get a quote from one of the Ford vendors that was actually lower than the state bid. So we were able to save about $700 on a vehicle from state bid cost. And the cost of the F-150 that we are proposing is actually only $4,000 greater than what we paid a year and a half ago for our Mach-E's. So given the time value of money, they're actually the same cost now. So we are not losing any additional resources or buying power from selecting an F-150 Lightning over a Mach-E. And so that's why we are recommending the purchase of an F-150 Lightning.
questions, concerns, comments? I fear.
Yeah, you don't see too many, well, at least in my experience, I haven't seen too many police departments with pickup trucks. Why a pickup truck?
Well, Harry and I actually saw one on the road today.
Okay.
Yeah, DeKalb County.
Okay.
We saw DeKalb County F-150 Lightning. A lot of police departments are starting to transition to them as admin vehicles because of their ability to do more than the Mach-E does. Again, these vehicles are produced for policing. They are police fleet vehicles. a lot of agencies in the state of Georgia are beginning to add them to their fleet. And more agencies would have added these to their fleet if the production didn't take so long. So I think you're going to begin seeing them integrated into the market more and more.
And what hard to get places are we thinking about here?
Just off-roading.
You never know.
It happens.
I mean, I'm serious, sure.
I'll provide you an example.
Okay.
And this is actually unfortunate and it costs the city money. We had a scene that was off-road that we could not take vehicles on, that the chief himself had to exit his vehicle and chase a perpetrator on foot. He was able to make contact and detain this person. However, in the process, injured his knee pretty significantly and now is requiring surgery that the city has to cover. If we had a vehicle that could have gone on this terrain, we would have. And it could have potentially saved, the need to chase down on foot.
Well, I think you guys have been moving to SUVs because they're easier to get in and out of. You can see better. And is this cheaper than an SUV? About the same?
Yeah.
Well, just cost.
Model and but the range is significantly less than what Ford's offering. The SUVs we have currently are gas and or hybrids. Cost wise, the EVs across the board are more expensive than your standard gas, but the data, just to let you guys know real quick, I think this could help. So the data that we've gotten off the EVs year to date, we've saved approximately 1,965 gallons of gas, reduced our carbon footprint by 13.8 metric tons of CO2. And just to give you an estimate on cost, the savings in gas is approximately $4,500 based on the average that we pay Decatur, who provides our fleet with gas. The average cost to charge the 3 EVs we're right around $3,000 year to date. So we've already seen about a $1,500 savings from gas to electricity, and those are averages. They're not
From the beginning of this year.
Yeah, no, that's those numbers are from implementation.
Mhm.
So right at a year.
Yeah, I don't, I advocated for it. I have no doubt about that. I'm just trying to understand and, maybe I don't know the city well enough, but
I think Patrick said it, there are maybe possibilities of that, but the F-150 provides a lot more than what the Mach-E does. The range is like just about identical. You're talking about, I think they're advertising the F-150 Lightning with the extended range at like 300 miles range. They're saying the F-150 Lightning gives us capabilities to plug in that has multiple 110 outlets. So for example, we're on a scene, we have to plug in additional lighting on a scene or something like that. The Mach-E's don't have that option. You have many in the front, the front, and then as well as in the bed. The F-150 is more roomy. So when we're moving stuff for events, which you guys all know I'm at just about every event, now we have a truck versus loaning trucks a couple of times from Public Works to haul barricades. Now we can be self-sufficient with that. It's car for car. It's a truck versus a car.
It's an administrative car, it's not a pro car.
There's no question about that. It's just trying to understand what we were getting out of having a truck. As
Yeah,
opposed to-
and just to let y'all know that this would be the vehicle assigned to the police chief.
Okay.
My Mustang would go down sector that's running the old course.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
I love that they're electric, but got it budgeted. And I can see the reason you would want to have one, especially for things like events and, that sort of thing. So I'm in favor.
Okay, so next step would be,
Bring that back for approval at the following meeting.
so we vote next time.
Mhm.
Okay,
Patrick, Chief, could you give us a little breakdown on, I guess, future maintenance cost considerations
Yeah.
versus gas? Because I know we're saving money on gas, but I think, coming from me, I don't have a lot of knowledge in cost of ownership for an electric vehicle. It seems like the ability to just have an EV sounds like a good idea, because whenever I see a police car, it's idling, so it's obviously using a lot of gas. I like the on-off capability of the battery. But could you elaborate just a little bit, I guess, savings down the road for the city versus having another gas car?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That's a great question. First of all, I think most people with gas powered cars are used to routine maintenance, like oil and filter changes, where you don't have the need for that maintenance with an EV. So the only maintenance costs that you're really looking at are things like, brakes, tires, and the like, because during the useful life of the vehicle, we're covered under warranty for all other major issues. For example, we did have an issue with one of the EV's computer systems. The computer was misfiring, so to speak, and told the car that it could not go, which was kind of was a freak thing, but we were able to tow the vehicle to Ford. Ford diagnosed the issue. They fixed the issue for free. So we are, to date, we have, other than some cosmetic repairs to the Mach-E that was involved in an accident, we haven't incurred any maintenance costs.
It's 10,000 miles. You take the car in, rotate the tires, fill the only fluid, which is washer fluid, and they do an inspection of the brakes specifically. But the brakes are power regenerating, so the life of the brakes is longer than a standard car brake. And it's the battery warranty is 120,000 miles. Bumper to bumper electronics is 120 miles, 120,000 miles. So the warranty is very extensive on these electronic vehicles.
And what I was going to add is, in answer to your question, Mike, I drive an electric car. In January, I drove 450 miles and spent $6.21 on the electricity for it.
All right, so I'll get up here, Mike. All good?
Sounds good. I just I think it's important to let just the public the pros, cons, EV versus gas. I know there's probably questions as to why the city is going in that direction, and I think it's important to just kind of let everybody know.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All good up here? So we will be voting on this next meeting. All right, item number 5, SafeBuilt Professional Services Contract.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Elmore. Since the inception of our permitting concierge office, which is now our planning and permitting coordinator, we have subsequently changed the role of that office since its inception. The city has contracted with Clark Patterson Lee to provide us with plan review and inspection services. And just to kind of review what that contract looks like, it is percentage based, meaning that for all of the permitting revenue that is taken in through the process, 60% of that goes back to Clark Patterson and Lee, and the city retains 40% of that revenue. In addition, the city has a need to track all of that activity through a software system. And we have, for the past several years, been using software provided by a company called iWork. And we have quite frankly, a need to shift away from that system And so we, based on incredible feedback from the city of Decatur, and through the process that we use to interview multiple vendors who provide this service, we are pleased to recommend SafeBuilt, who will provide the plan review and inspection services, but also has their own proprietary software that will act as the application tracking and permitting system. And we believe that that level of continuity is in the best interest of the city moving forward. In addition, the pricing schematic that has been proposed by SafeBuilt, we have projected through our analysis will actually save the city money on an ongoing basis. Just for your knowledge, we on average, and it fluctuates based on the number of permits and the size of the projects, but we on average take in about spend about $90,000 a year on the services provided by Clark Patterson and Lee. And we anticipate that the expenditure for SafeBuilt, and that's not inclusive of the software, but we anticipate that the expenditure on an annual basis to SafeBuilt to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $65,000 to $80,000 a year. So not only would we achieve continuity between provider and software, we also believe that this will save the city money moving forward.
And just for what it's worth, I've dealt with SafeBuilt in Decatur and have found them to be fine. I mean, I thought it was a good process. It seems to work better in most cities. So I don't have a problem with this at all. Any comments, questions, or?
It sounds great to me. My only question is it gonna, do you anticipate a smooth transition, or think that'll be?
And because of the fact that they have the proprietary software, and we wouldn't have to also contract with a third-party vendor for a software that both parties would have to train on, we believe that this transition will be as seamless as it could be. Yeah.
So what happens with data retention?
So we own all that data and have already recovered it. So all data that is currently housed in the iWork system has been retained by staff.
So it's accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
You gotta have that.
Mhm.
Graham? Any?
No, I don't have anything.
Mike?
No,
Mike, did you
good.
have questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
So we are going to get some documentation about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will come back at the next meeting with a contract.
Okay, so
Okay. Just the contract. We'll be voting on that?
Yes.
oh,
What do you need to see prior to that?
Well, I'd like to understand, what it is we're getting out of this.
So we're getting the exact same services
Okay.
that we are currently contracted for with CPL. It's literally an apples to apples comparison. Now, the pricing schematic is different. SafeBuilt will charge by the hour, whereas CPL charged by the percentage of each permit. But the services provided will be the exact same. And those services are twofold, really. It's plan review and inspection upon completion.
Okay. The only thing I would ask in that case is that, we get the contract, the draft earlier than 2 days before the meeting.
yeah, I'd like to just see the contract as soon as possible.
And their hourly rate would include the use of their proprietary software?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. The software essentially is gratis,
Okay.
and the service is the hours provided by the company.
Okay.
Okay, Mike, did you have any questions?
No, you guys have covered it nicely. So
Okay. All right, so we will be voting on this next meeting. Okay. All right, last item of discussion tonight, discussion of impact of museum school walker program.
Yes.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Elmore. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention at the board level in public, so that we can begin to openly and honestly engage in a solution-oriented conversation with the museum school to address some impacts onto our city from the museum school's Walker program. I know Catherine is in the audience. And if I misspeak about anything, please don't hesitate to correct me, because you are more of the expert on your own programs than I. But Chief S and I have engaged in conversations with Dr. Kelbaugh about this topic previously, and the need for us to work together to find a solution. So from the staff's perspective, we don't have adequate resources on hand to address the impact of the Walker program. And let me explain what the impact of the Walker program has been for us. So for those who don't understand what I mean by the Walker program, there is a program that the museum school allows for that gives students the opportunity to declare themselves walkers, so that they can literally leave the campus premises on foot. And yes, there are kids who live in the Avondale community who absolutely leave school premises and walk home. No debate about that. However, there are other kids who are part of the Walker program who are not walking home, but rather leaving school grounds and entering into Willis Park. So on any given school day, on average, we have about, I don't know, 100 to 150 kids kind of spill into Willis Park at the same time, or, after school. And for us, it creates three unique impacts, I think. One is it kind of turns Dartmouth into a school-related pickup and drop-off zone, meaning that a lot of those kids who spill into the park have parents who pick them up from the park. And a lot of those parents pick them up from the park at the same time. So we have an influx of traffic onto Dartmouth that results in several issues. One, folks parking their vehicles in no parking areas. Folks who pull into and block driveways and park and wait for their children to cross the street. And on some occasions, which we've witnessed numerous times, cars that literally park in the middle of the street and lay on their horn until their child literally runs out into the street and into the vehicle. And we try and patrol that area as much as we can. And if we are able to patrol that area and we see these things happen, our general tack has not been to issue citations, but to educate. In fact, Chief Hess, at the beginning of the 22 school year, I believe, was a participant in the museum school's back to school webinar, talking to parents about the dangers or the safety issues that we've seen from a traffic perspective. And that is really our number one concern from a city staff perspective, is that the amount of traffic, the type of the street that Dartmouth is, the ability to park where you're not impacting the flow of traffic is such that it is a safety issue. And we've been very lucky that we have not seen, a devastating result so far. There are also two other impacts as a result of the program. One is that there is not consistent adult supervision of the kids in the park after school, which sometimes results in altercations amongst the students that requires a police response. In fact, we have had two such altercations in the past, 4 months. One involving vandalism to private property, and the other involving an incident whereby one student accosted another student, which necessitated a police response. And granted, we're not trying, our police response is designed not to be heavy-handed. In both situations, we tried to counsel both student and parent as to avoid any potential criminal charges, because really what we want to do is just everybody to be mindful of behavior and the park itself. The third impact is the, I guess what you would call wear and tear on the park itself. The increased foot traffic all at one time, especially unsupervised children who, are children and do things that children would do, results in some damage to trees and shrubbery. Frequently, we see covering of drainage systems, which creates significant flooding issues, and damage to the pavilion furniture and playground equipment. So those are the three impacts that we see, and because of those impacts and our inability to address them directly, we just wanted to bring that to your attention so that we can continue to evolve our conversations with the museum school. So really, we can work together as mutual partners to come up with a solution or solutions that help reduce these impacts. Because at some point, I think if we continue to allow the condition to exist in its current state, we're going to have an incident that could have been avoidable and hopefully is not injurious to a student. And in addition to those impacts, which is what I, from a resource standpoint, am concerned about, we also have had numerous discussions with surrounding residents. Most notably, one of the city manager walk-in talks we did featured Chief Hess as the guest, and we held that event at Willis Park. And a lot of residents surrounding Willis Park joined us for that meeting and repeated this same refrain, noticing the same impacts that we do. And unfortunately, from a policing standpoint, unless we add personnel, we can't really address the issue the way we would like to address the issue, because the hours of 3 to 6 also happen to be peak traffic through the city. That's where during those hours, we see our most traffic accidents, our most traffic calls, and our most traffic-related violations. So if we were to dedicate an existing unit to Willis Park at that time, we would reduce our capacity to patrol the remainder of the city during its peak traffic time. Those are the issues as they stand. I put this on the agenda because those impacts are very real and we need to discuss them. I want to be very clear. that, you know, the museum school has certainly been amenable to ongoing conversations and potential solutions. And that, you know, we're not trying to cast blame here. We're not trying to, again, be heavy-handed. We just kind of are looking for some light at the end of the tunnel. And to date, we haven't been able to find that light yet. So that's the issue as we believe it to be.
Yeah. And sorry. So are we looking to have like a series of conversations here or?
Yeah, like I don't know if you were out of the room when I said it, but I think my goal from a staff perspective is to really engage the museum school and its parents and administrative staff with us to come up with a mutual solution or solutions that really work to address these impacts. Because we just believe the impacts aren't sustainable and we don't have the resources ourselves to address them in the manner that we think they need to be addressed.
Okay.
So yes, I would like to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I mean, I think everybody knows all three of our kids went all the way through the museum school from K through 8. My wife was really involved with the foundation. I mean, with the founding of the school, was very involved with the board and many committees for many years. Anyway, so, and you know, two things I'm particularly proud of is when we changed the rules in the park, which were pretty. Well, we changed the rules in the park, and I think that was a good thing. And we opened the gate to be not for the museum school, but really for our neighbors in Forest Hills, to be more open and inviting. I do know that this has become a thing with the traffic. I don't go to the park anymore. My kids aren't there anymore. Just hear from residents through email and so forth that, you know, that seems like some of the behavior, the respect or disrespect is kind of escalated. And of course, the traffic is an issue because the last thing we want is for a child to be injured or worse, or for some sort of altercation to happen between parents and residents or whatever. So I hope that we can have a respectful, meaningful conversation about what we can do to make this a better situation for everybody involved. And I hope we can have a good series of conversations about this. I just wanted to sort of set that up right away. But anyway, comments up here.
Go
ahead.
I'll go. Yeah, I agree, Jonathan. I'm very proud of the fact that the park is a welcoming place and that the gate is open to provide connectivity. You know, that's one of our buzzwords here in Avondale. We want to be connected especially for pedestrians and bikers. That's always been a value for us. But the issues are real. And, you know, I would say as somebody who kind of lives near there that on a day-to-day use, general use of the park, since those rules have been changed, is all fine. People are in the park today, you know, the school is on break, but the park was full of people this afternoon, parents with their children. So on a general basis, where we've gone, I think it's been a really good thing. But there are problems when you release a huge number of people, many of whom are getting into cars and mixing with children who are walking or running across streets. That's a whole different situation than just the general use of the park. And I think we need to be mindful of the distinction between those two things. And I've long advocated that we should be having a conversation. All of us should be having a conversation, the school, the city, about this situation and addressing it. And I welcome that dialogue and I welcome some sort of movement toward real change for these issues. That's why.
But I have just a couple of comments. I think I don't know that it's an actual walking program, and I think parents have to sign. I remember when my kids went there, we filled out a form and the parent designated themselves, the student as a walker or not. It wasn't necessarily up to the student as to what they were going to do. And I think, you know, I'm interested to know what we talked about solutions, like what the solution looks like.
Yeah.
If there is a solution, if there is a problem. I mean, and, you know, I think from a city standpoint, you know, I've gotten a few emails about it this week, and, you know, but it's a public park, and kids have a right to play in that park, and it's a heavily used park, especially in those times. And so I can, you know, people have said, oh, the plants get beaten down, and there's, you know, kids running the street, you know, but, you know, I think the one thing as a city that we could do would be to enforce the traffic. And if we can't enforce our traffic laws, you know, I mean, I don't know what the legality is of stopping in the middle of the road and blowing your horn, if that's illegal or not, you know, maybe it is. It is. But, you know, that's a time when we can engage with that person. Like you said, instead of ticketing, you know, we educate people, but we can't legislate good choices. We can't legislate good parenting. And we can't, you know, as far as I know, one of our rules wasn't a particular age to be left in the park. You have to be a certain age to not be supervised. Is that? Mm-hmm. So, you know.
So what are the solutions?
Yeah. I just don't know what the solution is. And I think that, you know, the wear and tear on the park, I get it, but it's a busy park. You know, that stuff happens. Not having consistent adult supervision. You know, we can't make people do that. The school can't make people be a better supervisor of their children. I mean, I've talked to one incident that there was a scuffle or whatnot, and one of the participants' dad was in the park when it happened. So obviously not watching their kid very well, but you know, I just, you know, I think if we have any recourse at all, it's maybe we change a little bit about how Dartmouth works. If we need to put up no parking signs or parking by permit only, and it's the and that, you know, and you have to live on the street to get a permit, and you can have an extra one for your friend to come over, or yeah. I just don't know. I just don't know what the solution is, and I don't think we can call, you know, kids playing hard in our park a problem.
So here are the kind of options.
Okay.
Well, first you have to, I think the fundamental question is, you know, and I'm not making a judgment here, saying the fundamental question is, well, who is responsible for solving the issue? Is it the city who is impacted, or the school who is causing? So I think you have to answer that question. However, we've proposed some solutions to the museum school, or thrown out some solutions. And here are the various solutions as I see them. The city can absolutely add additional personnel to be dedicated to traffic control at the times that it's necessary. Which reverts back to the question that I asked. like, who's responsible for that? Meaning that if we have to add additional personnel, of course, that's going to cost money. And all of that would be borne by the taxpayers of this community. But the problem's not necessarily being caused in whole, or it's really being a majority of the students are not residents of this community.
Do we know that though?
Yes. Yeah. The second, so we know, so these, that we know. So in addition to us hiring personnel to dedicate to it, the school could hire personnel to dedicate to it, meaning that, you know, either off-duty officers, not necessarily even from our department, but from any department to work on a part-time basis in order to provide traffic control in the area, so that at a minimum, we could try and alleviate the traffic safety issues, which I do see as of the three impacts, the main impact for sure. So that could be something that the school does. There could be some sort of mutual partnership between the two entities to hire part-time dedicated traffic control personnel for that situation. The other solutions would be some sort of parental cooperative that would be assigned for supervisory purposes within the park at that time. The limitation to that, of course, is what I think a comment you made about we can't legislate parenting. So that group would only be as good as they can be effective, themselves. We can't legislate effectiveness for them. And then the other solution, of course, would be to lock the gate for a temporary period of time every school day to keep the influx of students from entering the park all at one time and causing the condition that has necessitated this conversation. Those are the solutions that I believe exist. I'm not suggesting that any one is more effective than the other. The other solution, I think, but Dr. Kelbaugh has explained it to me before, so I don't know how viable it is, but is to restrict the release of kids on foot to those who can actually walk to their homes, like a radius limitation. But Dr. Kelbaugh has hinted to me that there may be some potential discrimination concerns around that restriction. So, those are the options on the plate.
Hey,
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'll go after you.
yeah, guys, if I could, I think this, for obvious reasons, is a real, I think potentially far-reaching. Yeah, it's a problem with very real far-reaching implications across the neighborhood, and I think this is something that I think would be very advantageous of the board, with the city manager, to perhaps sit with the museum school board and the principal and the director and all that to maybe come up with some solutions or talk over what problems the city has versus opportunities the museum school. I have 3 kids myself in the museum school, and I think it would be it has a lot of intricacies and a lot of obvious, there's a lot of moving parts, and I think it would be a really good idea for us to all get together to have those conversations together, because I know you have, Patrick, had discussions with museum school. I think us being kind of the representatives of the city residents, I think it would be important for us to be maybe privy to some of those and maybe have some face-to-face opportunities to discuss these kind of problems with the school. If anybody else has any input on that, I think that it might be advantageous for us to maybe meet and discuss this matter further.
Yes.
Yeah, which is, yeah, so I have a couple of things, but what does success look like?
I think for us, success is essentially eliminating the traffic safety concerns, meaning that, you know, any persons who are, you know, meeting their child in the park, do so respecting our traffic laws and the ability for our residents who live around the area to enter and exit their properties as they need. We've had multiple instances where residents surrounding the park can't get into their homes because their driveways are blocked by school parents. So for me, it's traffic control and reducing. So not only for traffic flow purposes and residents surrounding the park being able to come and go as they please, but also the very real safety concerns that are caused when kids are running out into the street to meet their parents.
So success is, if you don't mind, Mike, I want to.
Yeah,
make
sorry.
sure
It's
that
just
I understand clearly what success looks like. Success means safety for children in terms of traffic.
Safety for children would be the number one concern.
Okay, the
Second concern is the ability for our residents to be able to come and go to the.
again, that's traffic.
Yeah, traffic. And then, and again, probably the most difficult thing to accomplish would be the supervisory role of adults, those children in the park.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have the best answer to. You know, I agree with Graham that you know, there's no way to force parents to properly supervise their children.
You know, I don't know what it is about the park, you know, but since before I became a commissioner, the park has been a problem in one way or another. You know, Commissioner, you didn't like people walking their kids through the park to get to school.
No, I've never said that one. I have always
Okay.
supported
All
that.
right.
I supported that day one. Like,
Okay. All right.
say that.
You know, there's been various incidents. Last year, I had somebody walk up to me and tell me my son was running around the park with museum school kids, you know, yelling out the N-word. And I said, I will speak to my son and take care of the problem. And she persisted. And that's when I finally told her that it couldn't have been my son, because my son goes to Druid Hills and he doesn't get home till 7 because he's on the track team. You know, so, you know, I don't know what is the problem. So here's what I'm going to say here is that, you know, if truly we intend to be a welcoming city, then the kids playing in the park should not be a problem. You know, no matter what happens to the property of the park, you know, that I don't see why kids running around the park is a problem. The traffic is a problem. I agree. I was driving down Dartmouth with my wife and 2 kids ran out into the street. Yeah, that's the problem. If that's the problem we're solving for, yeah, I'm 100% behind you. So in solving that problem, Graham brought up something that I was considering, and I'm glad you brought it up, which is why not make that part of Dartmouth no parking, no stopping from the hours of, I don't know what time they get out, 3 to 6 or whatever it is, you know. That way residents can drive down there and get into their driveways, you know, but you also have people know they can't stop and they can't, do whatever it is. A second measure that can be taken is, maybe we should consider getting crossing guards for the intersection where Dartmouth meets. And maybe a crossing guard at the other end of Dartmouth. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. But if the goal is truly safety of the children, then, there are measures that we can take. I myself, I don't agree that you're from the museum school. Yeah, I don't agree that this is the museum school's problem to solve. The museum school educates the children, and at some point, they let the children out. If the museum school was actively saying, please go to Willis Park, then I think, yeah, there would be a problem there. But, kids are going to be kids, I mean, I can see the park from my office at home. And, I can be on conference calls and I have my earbuds in and I stand at my window and look out, because that's a joy I'll never experience again in my life. I'm never going to be a kid again. I'm never going to run around, and I'm never going to be in elementary school and some kid says, I'm going to kick your butt after school in the park. I mean, that stuff happens. It's part of being a kid,
Well-
so I'd like to finish, please. So as far as the landscaping, the damage to benches and furniture, I mean, they're all metal. I think that's about as good as we can do. The posts for the pavilion, they're granite. Kids aren't coming in with pickaxes and sledgehammers, so, really, and, if I'm passionate about this, it's because I'm passionate about kids, I want them to have the freedom to be kids. So if the problem that we're trying to solve is truly safety, there are ways to do it. But as far as preventing altercations with kids, the student accosted another student. My understanding was that student had mental health issues. I don't know how true that is.
No.
Okay, but that's all I know about it. So, that's my view, guys. It maybe not make me, the most popular person in the world in the city, but, that is my view.
No, I mean, we all respect that. I think, we've got the city and the residents. Sorry. We got the school. We got the parents. And I think we all bear some responsibility in sort of contributing to the safety of the children around the streets and the park, the condition of the park. If we're not all going to accept some level of responsibility in that, then we're not going to get anywhere, because I don't think it's just about children's safety. I mean, it's about, our tax dollars in the park. It's about the behavior of the kids, which is clearly very difficult to control. But I think we got three players here, and I think all of us need to get to the same table, and we need to talk about what each of our groups can do to help make this a lovely park for everyone, and again, I don't think anyone can say, I got nothing to do with this. That is unacceptable. We all have to accept some level of responsibility in it. So what I would like to, I guess, more or less propose is that we get everybody together. It's called PTA, PTO, PTC. I don't even know what it's called. Yeah. Get the parents together, get the school together, get the city together, and discuss the problems, discuss what success looks like, discuss who can contribute to getting there. Because I just think throwing up your hands and saying, no, I can't do anything. That's not going to work. Okay. And let's all do this respectfully. Let's all do this with the intention of coming out with a good, emerging with a good outcome. So that our residents can enjoy the park. It's not destroyed, the kids are safe, the residents can get in and out. And I think it's a number of problems, but I think it's going to take all of us working together to come up with a solution. And that's my 2 cents worth. I don't know. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with you. And I think that was really well put. that we all need to accept responsibility. I will add this. I've been a teacher. I've done carpool, and two of the schools that I taught at, one of them in particular, had a park right across the street. And that school, and it was in the city of Atlanta, they had discussions, they worked together, and they had, they came to a mutual agreement about how to protect the city park. I know St. Thomas More, they're right across from that, I forget the name of that little park that's in Decatur, but they have an agreement with the city of Decatur to protect their public space as well. So I think it can be done. I think we have examples of places that do it. I think it will take all of us. And the last thing I want to say is we have rules in terms of permitting and other limitations on numbers of people in the pavilion, for instance, or a number of people who can use our town green. I'm not saying that the school views it this way. I think this is sort of like that, what is light? Is it a particle or a wave? It all depends on how you're viewing it. I knew you'd get that, Jonathan. But I think from the city's perspective, these things are in place to help protect our public spaces. And if we had an event of that, if we had 150 people who wanted to use Willis Park, they would have to go through a permitting process and provide, what are you going to do with the trash? You have to have a policeman. You have to have, what about parking? Where's everybody going to park? So this is not, what I'm trying to say, it's not unreasonable for cities to want to protect their public resources and their public spaces. Yeah. And I agree that we should all discuss and that we all have a responsibility to work on that. I do not accept that just it can be, whatever goes can go, and whatever damage happens to the park, it's fine because it's the kids. It is a park. And
so safety is not the priority.
I think it's not a singular issue. That is one of them. And, I think that we all have to come to the same table and just talk about what are the problems? How are we going to solve this? Again, what does success look like? What are we all trying to achieve here? But I don't think we can just say, oh, it's safety, 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 because you're avoiding the other issue.
Well, I'm not avoiding anything.
That's not
to understand exactly what are we after? What, at the end of the day, what do we want it to look like? Because unless we know exactly what it is we're driving toward, there's no solution that's going to make any sense.
And I would say at this point, we don't know.
Okay, well, then that's better. We don't know.
Okay.
I think it's something we all need.
Well, I think it's just, all three sides have to fairly come to the table and have a fair chance to state their position and what we're after. And Chief Hess and the police, they can't control children's, behavior for the most part. Unless they do something bad. And that's not the issue. It's like but I think, again, my core position is we all have a responsibility. It's a shared resource, right? And if we're going to share it, we all need to take some responsibility in making sure it's a safe place, that the kids feel safe, that they're being protected, from a traffic perspective, that the school's doing what it can or not doing what it shouldn't, they've got some limitations, serious limitations on what they can do. Effectively, it ends at the school property. But there's some crossover here. There's some gray area, and we got to figure that out, and I think this is the first conversation that we have initiated, in this room, I think, at this level. And we got to figure out what's next. All right, now, not that we're finished up here, public comment is next. And I know a lot of you want to comment. Dr. Kelbaugh has joined us this evening. Please do not put her on the spot. This is not going to be a Q&A. She's just here to listen and get input. Any questions should be directed to us. Okay. I do want us to figure out a way that we can all sit down and have a conversation, but please don't, do that. Not that anyone would, but she's not here to answer questions. She's just here to listen like everybody else. So, we good?
Yep.
Mike.
I think it's very important for us to separate our emotions from our responsibility here. The traffic safety situation is very real. It is, as I stated earlier, that is our number one concern from a city staff perspective. And we very much have a responsibility as an organization, both at this level and at staff level, to ensure that traffic safety is paramount. For many reasons, moral and financial, because if we don't, it could be on us. And I'll tell you this, cities in general are in a very, have a very thin line between being solvent and not being solvent. And we're one disaster of negligence away from being on the hook for something like that. And so I want to keep y'all I say all this to keep you in mind of this. If we identify a problem and we neglect to address the problem, then we create liability for ourselves. And the traffic safety issue is a very real problem that we can't neglect. And I think we've proposed solutions to that problem that are viable. And y'all will just have a decision as to what direction we need to go and who is involved in that process. So I really want to reinforce that that is something at a minimum we have to address. Because like I said, we've been lucky, and I'll knock on wood again, that we have not already encountered an incident that, could involve us in a suit.
Yeah. All right. Are we good up here, Mike?
Yeah, no, I think first off, I think we need to solve that traffic issue. And I think that might.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I think, first and foremost, the traffic issue is the most important thing. And I think what I think it would be a good thing to explore would be some sort of organized, traffic flow. I know the museum school has a normal traffic flow for pickup and drop off. I think the city may need to implement something like that and have it be away from, residents' driveways. What comes to mind is Dartmouth in front of the park, on the right hand side of Dartmouth, where the swim and tennis club is, and maybe have an organized, that way kids aren't crossing the street. If parents have to, pick up children from the park, they have to enter from that direction and then have their kids get into the car and the car will be on the right hand side of the street, so there will be no crossing of the street. So that might be something that could be an easily implementable plan, student pick up, drop off, that does not occur at the school itself. It needs to occur at that point, and that will take it away from the Dartmouth area where there are lots of resident driveways and such. I don't know if that has any kind of chance of being, or if it's rational at all, but I think there needs to be some sort of maybe official traffic flow for any at least for the school release hours, any kid pickup needs to be done this side of the street, this area only, during these hours. And we could have, signs posted and such, just so it's more organized there. But I do think, all parties should probably get together so we can, kind of discuss things and have it done soon. Because I understand the urgency from Patrick's perspective. But, if we as commissioners are going to have to vote on something, I think we really need to get a little bit more into the weeds on this with the school itself and see what's going on.
Okay. Thank you. All right, all good up here? All right,
I mean, I think we're all gonna have ideas and suggestions and rebuttals and whatever. So I think that the main point is that we all chat.
yes. So to that end, I think we need to approach the school and arrange a meeting.
Would y'all like to do that in public as a special meeting, or would you like to form a subcommittee whereby two commissioners can meet with members of the school administration and tackle it that way?
I personally think that one or two of us should meet with a limited group from school and some of the parents or some representatives of the parents and just try to nail down, to distill what the conversation is and where it's going, what the problems are, and then bring that back. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think we all need to do it in public, simply by the fact that we've heard the diversity of opinion that there is here on the board. And I don't think that any two commissioners can adequately reflect the opinions of all of the rest of us.
Okay.
Fine, either way, I think both could be beneficial, but I mean,
Okay.
At least if we did it all together, we'd all hear it all at the same time.
Okay. Either way. Okay. Lisa?
Yes, I agree with what Graham said. I think both could be beneficial, but I think there is so much observation that hasn't even been touched upon tonight that maybe possibly two commissioners, I think it would be easier to do all together.
Okay.
So we'll work with school representatives to come up with a mutual time that works for everybody, if that's okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. All right. We're all good up here?
Yep.
Okay. Public comment. Yes, sir.
Bill Hover, 89 Berkeley Road. I kind of like to go back a moment to the sanitation contract, if I could.
Sure.
Just ask a question regarding all the numbers I think that I've seen so far are for a contract that would run for 2 or 3 years or something like that. What is in which is providing great savings immediately, but what happens after that contract is over with? Do we have any kind of protection against all of a sudden those fees doubling? Or so anyway, would like maybe some thought or clarifications on that, and maybe not at this meeting, but just for future consideration.
The board will let me, I can
Yep.
kind of give a real succinct version. There's two ways to handle that. First of all, the length of the contract is yet to be determined. But there's generally two ways to handle pricing within the bounds of a contract. One is that you set a temporal time that those rates are good and usually adjust during that temporal period by some sort of CPI measure. That's how we've handled all multi-year contracts in the past. The other, of course, is competition. So if at the end of a contract, a company decides to increase the amount that they're going to charge you, then you go with somebody else who will charge less. So those are the two mechanisms that we would have at our disposal, and that would go for, really, it doesn't even, it's for any contract, for any service that we would sign.
John,
John Mizell, 3302 Win. First of all, on the, is there a designated drop-off pickup spot for children?
At the school, there's a supervised carpool.
But is it,
well,
Yes.
but I know it, but I'm saying, is it at the school?
there is
It sounds
one.
like it's not very well used. You've got all this influx.
I think it's pretty well used,
Is it?
but nevertheless, there is a supervised safe carpool. Like pickup.
On the
Yes.
sanitation, there'll be, will the trash pickup and the other pickup be the same day, or how are they gonna do that?
Trash and recycling?
Yeah.
It's all to be determined, the logistics. But most likely, each zone, or you conceive it, will have trash and recycling picked up at the same
Okay,
time.
so, and they will furnish recycling bin and a trash bin.
That's correct.
I hope they're both not 92 gallons.
We anticipate the recycling bins to be 35 ounces, 32 or 33, somewhere in that neighborhood. They're significantly smaller than the solid waste receptacles. But again, that's determined via contract and logistics. More recycling than trash. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Leslie Byers, 41 Clarendon Avenue, and I'm with GCG, and there are a few GCG people here, which is Gardens for the Common Good. I don't know if any people know what it is, but we prune and weed and plant and do work at the, anything Public Works can't do, we do in the green space in the city. So we're kind of up close and personal with what's going on with all the plants like that. And I just wanted to address the idea of wear and tear on the park, particularly Willis. We don't see wear and tear really at the lake or any real issues there. But at Willis, it's really more than wear and tear. We've lost like 5 trees because the kids pull the branches off, they pull the bark off. We're now in the process of, there's a bank of shrubs, and they've been just shredding those shrubs up. So we were there last time trying to prune them up to save them. We've tried putting fences around trees and doing all that, and kids take them down. So I realize kids will be kids, but I do think there's a line in that. And it's, I think it's crossed more into destructive than just, you know, wear and tear. And so we see a lot of that, and we love to have a slowdown of the activities of the kids so that we can preserve some of the green space at parks.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
And I know next to nothing about gardening, so forgive me if this is gardening and plants, so forgive me if this is a silly question. Is there a way to get more hardy vegetation that would withstand that kind of
So like, well, we.
you know, I'm asking.
Big and really old.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me get my jacket, sorry. I'll be right back.
Maybe 5. And in that
Two
instance,
sweaters on.
you still
Yeah,
have
let me get
waste.
my jacket. I'll be right back.
And the bushes, we could plant hollies, which would stab the kids, you know, but I think that we're also trying to make it a friendly park. So we're trying to do both. So there, yes, you're right. There are some ways we could discourage people from the destructiveness. All we have to do is plant it. We have to spend money.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand that. So I appreciate what you do and your thoughts on this. Thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Martha.
As an educator for almost 40 years, I've never heard of children just being released and unsupervised. There were bus riders, there were walkers, and car riders. And it was all designated at the school. Every parent had to send a letter to the school, a form, saying how their child was gonna get home. And so the car riders lined up with the car riders. The walkers had permission, they had to report home and call their parents. And car riders, walkers, and bus riders. So everybody was accounted for. And if that bus wasn't there right away at 3:15, they stayed in a designated classroom until their bus was called. So the school was responsible for the children. No child was released into Never Never Land. So that's how I saw it for 40 years, and it worked. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Patricia Calcagney, 11 Kingston Road. I'm also part of GCG. In addition to the shrubs and the trees, they've moved the river rocks where they're making like little campfires with little sticks. I mean, I'm afraid one day they're gonna bring a match. Because those little fires they build, they're right by those pine trees. In addition to that, about 2 years ago, it was right before COVID. I was walking by the park, the kids are out in school, and I continued walking by the pool area. There were 2 girls from the museum school trying to climb the fence into the pool area. The pool was not open, it was still closed at that time. And I scolded them, I told them to get back to the park, get off the fence. Oh, we're trying to get in there because those boys are in there. I said, what boys? I said, over there, 2 boys on the roof of the pool house. I scolded those boys and told them to get down. They said, it's okay. Those people told me I can get it here. People, I said, what people? People on the tennis courts. And I said, no, They said, well, they're members. It's okay. I said, I'm a member. It's not okay. Get down. I should have called the police, but I didn't, but I made sure they got down. So there needs to be supervision, whether it's parents or the school. These kids need to be supervised. And they're always leaving the backpacks and their jackets, and it's ugly. I've sent you all pictures before, I know that. So.
Absolutely. Yes, Kathy.
I heard this comment, and this has been going on since the school opened. So I have seen my little neighbors in strollers say they could not use the park between certain hours because those children are there. And I love children. I mean, Lionel, I love children. Mm-hmm. But that's not fair to the residents of our city who they cannot use the park for a period of time, 6 months out of the year. That's wake up time for little kids, and they need some occupation between 3 and 5 before daddy gets home. So that's my comment on it. It's not a new issue. Jonathan remembers when Willis Park was closed. Do you remember that period of time?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden at the community club, and I was the president of the community club then, we had all these kids showing up at the community club, and we sat there and watched them. And I guess one car would bring 5 kids up, 6 kids.
Oh,
and and that was fine, stay on the lake. But when they're using our fire pit as trembling, but that's what I'm talking about. My other question is, if a child who's unsupervised falls from a tree and breaks his leg, whose responsibility is it? Is it the parents? So there's no parents there?
I say that because my kid fell off a tree. Yeah, my kid fell off a tree.
I don't believe we would for that scenario. But not enforcing traffic laws that result in an injury could present a liability situation for us. Yeah, usage of park space is at your own risk. But failure to obey law is not.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I live at 3063. And I sent letters to Mayor Elmore and all the commissioners, and the night has gotten very late. But I did want to identify that I expressed early concerns about the sanitation changes. And Mayor Elmore has those in writing, and all of you do as well. Several of you answered me back, and I appreciate it. My concern has been somewhat addressed, and I will read the additional references. But my concern was about the workers, how they feel about this transition. It's 2024. I wouldn't want to be without a job or in a job that I was unsure of supervision. These workers do the dirty work of our communities. I don't know any of us sitting here, maybe some of us would, but sanitation is dirty work. And I appreciate them. I wave at them. I don't get to talk to them much at 7 a.m. in the morning. But I will have a continuing concern that the hour is late. My grandchildren used to play at Willis Park. They're in Brooklyn now. So I really empathize and sympathize with those concerns as well. But I hope you will take care in this transition. I could use $200 a year, but not on the back of a worker. I can put out my trash because I'm single and I don't have to have 2 pickups and I don't have to have somebody come up my driveway. But I do care about these workers and I will continue, I hope, to have a conversation with them. If you want to talk to me, my number was on the written communication. That's my concern. I also appreciate the entire meeting tonight because you showed great concern for both the transition, in sanitation, and the school situation. And this is the first meeting I've been here a short period of time compared to most residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, and I live at 50 Berkeley Road. I have a problem with hiring an outside firm to come in and pick up our garbage. One thing, I think it's a safety issue. I know these people, I feel comfortable around these people. It's good people, they're hardworking people, and I appreciate their efforts. I'd rather my fees for sanitation go up than to lose them.
Thank you. I'm just Catherine. No, I can't see around the corner sometimes. Yes.
Catherine Hallbaugh, founding principal is in school, and currently the executive director of the school. As you know, Museum School is a DeKalb County charter school. We opened up in 2010, right down the street in the little parking lot of Avondale Estates First Baptist Church, and then moved to the old Forest Hills facility in 2012. We have had a long-standing relationship and partnership with the city of Avondale that actually goes back before the school even opened. And I was literally just looking at my calendar. I think it's almost to the day that 15 years ago we stood in this room, did our very first lottery. So there's a lot of great history, and I look forward to partnership with the city. The museum school really prides itself in its core values. We have 6 core values, and some of those are respect, kindness, and responsibility, and cooperation. And when we hear of our students on use those core values after school hours, we jump into increased communication, not only with our students, but our families as well. So we take that very seriously. Now, as it relates to after school hours, I don't want to touch on all that was brought up tonight, obviously, but as it relates to after school hours, you won't be surprised to hear that Museum School, as a data-driven school, is now diving into collecting some data. We have created an after-school task force. A couple of the members are here today, and we have a couple that are online as well. This is a group of about 15 parents and staff members that have come together to talk about and think about solutions for our students' safety and well-being after school. The first thing that we need to figure out is we need to get this data. We need to figure out what are our students doing after school. Now, obviously, we have our very basic list, but for a lot of students, if they're in sports, they're not a rider every day, or they're not a walker every day. So we're going to dive in with our stakeholders and find out, first of all, what are students doing after school? Why are they doing that particular thing? So if you are walking and going to the park and what are you looking for there? Because we want to be able to ensure that our students and our families have options that meet their needs. So again, the first step that this task force is taking is to figure out what our students need, what they're doing, and then how we can respond to that. So again, we have this very robust task force that's helping Principal Hope Black and myself create a menu of recommendations to share with the city, again, with a focus on collaboration and partnership. I think the other thing that I will add is part of this data collection. I want to make sure that we're all working off of accurate data. And so while we have general walker data, we haven't sorted that into who is a resident of Avondale Estates, who's a resident of different communities. So we're going to collect that data just so that we all are speaking from good, accurate data. It was very helpful tonight to hear the specific impacts and the primary concerns of the city as it relates to middle school students after school and Willis Park. Obviously, the better that we understand the problems that the city is facing, the more helpful that we can be in crafting some solutions. And we are a very solution-oriented school. I know Patrick mentioned that earlier. So not only have we created this task force, but we're also put out RFPs for after-school vendors. We do have an after-school program at the school, but with our new proposals, we're asking these vendors to tell us specifically how they're going to attract, especially middle school students, and how they're going to keep them in this program. So we're looking at this in a very broad approach. And then finally, I would say, just as a reminder, not only as it relates to the conversation tonight, but Museum School's doors are always open. Literally, its name is the Museum School of Avondale Estates. It was born in this community, and it's something that I hope that you all are proud of. We've actually been part of the tour of homes before, and are always looking for ways to continue to collaborate. One of the conversations that we had at our task force recently was, we do know that a lot of our students, and a lot of them are Avondale residents, do enjoy the park after school. They enjoy socializing with friends. And Museum School, we would like to be more intentional about how we give back to the park and give back to Avondale Estates. When we first moved into the Forest Hills building, we had some service learning projects, and we took students out into the community. We went to Willis Park, we went to the lake. We worked with some small businesses, and we want to be more intentional about a mutually beneficial collaboration and partnership. I do want to let the board know, I know that you all talked about engaging other representatives and members of the Museum School community. Our governing board was aware of tonight's meeting. We did have a couple of board members that were able to sit in on the call. They're aware of the task force. They're aware of obviously these ongoing conversations. And I know are very supportive in this relationship and us coming up with solutions that Museum School can help to craft, but also that the Museum School is thinking about where our line is drawn. But appreciate the dialogue, appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about the school. And again, the doors are always open. We would love to have you all for a visit and let you tour the school and get to know our students a little bit better. So
Thank you. Online?
Yeah.
Lynn?
It's fine. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so my name is Lynn Boyd, and I live at 11 Fairfield Plaza. I'm right behind the tennis courts. And the first thing that I want to say is that everybody really needs to listen strong and clear to what Patrick was saying. He said he's trying to save children's lives. He knows that the traffic is a problem and that we're, it's just an accident waiting to happen. And so no solution is not a solution. And we are seeing the same problems with children misbehaving. They're unsupervised. And it's possible that having a radius that walkers can use would be a good solution, because the kids are what's causing the traffic problems and the traffic pickups and drop-offs. And the traffic problem is what's causing the liability issues and the danger. So that's what I want to say. Do you want to say something, Harry? Harry wants to say something. Oh, no, Harry doesn't want to say. And we have the same problems in the park with the trash. And I saw kids like beating each other up 2 days ago, and they're faster than me. I can't get to them, But kids are going to be kids when there's not anybody supervising them.
Thank you for your comment. Alice?
Yes, hello.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay, this is Alice Guppy. I live at 93 Berkeley Road. I am a grandmother of a third grader at the museum school, and I have watched dismissal and what happens at Willis Park. I just want to say that the museum school has been very clear from the very beginning, when Allison started there as a kindergartner, about their dismissal policy and about what the walkers were expected to do and where they were expected to go. And they have reiterated that through the course of this year as some of these incidents have happened, via their newsletter, etc. I think there are a lot of issues here that have to be addressed. But as Patrick has said, I think the primary one that has to be addressed immediately or as soon as possible is the one with the traffic on Dartmouth. And I would like to encourage that to be addressed quickly and not all of these issues to be treated as one big whole, so that the traffic problem can be addressed as some of these more sensitive issues are discussed.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Carol iPhone.
Carol
Hello.
iPhone? Yes.
Hey, it's Carol Reimer. My address is 15 Clarendon Place, but as many of you know, my driveway is a direct line from the park gate. So I see quite a bit from the top perch of my driveway. And if anybody would like to ever sit up there, watch traffic, observe human behavior as far as it relates to our parents picking up students, please feel free to bring a lawn chair and sit there anytime. My concern is one of a concerned citizen who, when the park first opened and partnered with the school, I said to our former city manager, we need a crosswalk. This is dangerous. People do not stop at the stop sign on Dartmouth coming into the park. They run the stop sign frequently. And immediately there was a crosswalk. What we're missing is what I see on the other side of the fence at dismissal, which is a trained supervised adult watching kids cross, because I have seen numerous kids dart across Dartmouth in front of my driveway up toward the tennis courts, over toward the Shortell's residence, and they don't look. So I feel like somebody's negligent, whether it is us as a city. I worry about backing down the driveway, and I'm thankful some parents will literally, that are sitting at my driveway, will motion to me, stop, no, don't go, because I can't see. It is blind coming down that driveway. And I really feel like we need to encourage some trained personnel crosswalk person to be on duty at all times from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, because traffic is an issue. The yellow curb, people don't know what that means. there's no supervision of parents. So if we can't supervise carpool and minimize the impact of kids crossing and keeping them safe, then I think we're doing a disservice to partner with the school and allow pickup at all. So I encourage you, please, and thank you, Patrick, and the board for at least listening tonight to our concerns, and feel free to come sit in my driveway and watch anytime. So you'll get on board with our needs. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This wasn't handed. How is?
I don't think she took it down. Well, so none online?
No.
Okay. Any other questions, comments out there? Okay. All right. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It was Lisa. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was Graham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for being here this evening. We appreciate it.